My constituency of North West Leicestershire is proud to be the home of East Midlands Airport, which is part of the Manchester Airport Group, and about 4 million people will fly from there each year. Before focusing on the drop-off charges at East Midlands Airport, I think it's important to understand this in the context of being part of a wider problem locally. The closest train station to East Midlands Airport is East Midlands Parkway, which is a 10-minute drive from the airport. The only bus service from East Midlands Parkway is a dialer ride service. It's an on-demand service only. It's not even a regular bus service. For those who might not have experienced an on-demand service, it's basically you rock up at the train station and ring a number and there might be a bus available. That's how it operates. It's very good, but I think the reality is when you're going through a stressful scenario of going on holiday with a couple of kids in tow, you're going to go and get a taxi. So the taxi will also have to use the rapid drop-off. So even though you've travelled via public transport, you're still having to pay that drop-off charge to get to the airport. But 91% of travellers to East Midlands Airport travel by car, leaving just 9% travelling by public transport, which is so much lower than every other passenger airport in the country. And I think this is something that why the drop-off charges seem so unfair is our choices to get to airports are pretty limited. We also know that people are parking in nearby villages to the airport, including in Leicestershire, and I was just chatting to the member for Rushcliffe yesterday who highlighted that it was a problem in his constituency too. So essentially to avoid parking at the airport for any length of time, people will get a taxi from somewhere in a village outside the airport and make their way to the airport to avoid those weekly charges. When there are hardly any other alternative ways to get to the other airport by car, we do need to look about the infrastructure around our airports and ask people if they feel they have no choice but to drive, or then ask them to get a family member to drop them off. Raising drop-off prices, as we've seen many do, does not suddenly mean that my constituents or those who travel to East Midlands Airport are suddenly able to magic a bus or a train that will get them there in a different way. People want the convenience of being dropped off close to the departure gate, and airports know that. It's a cash cow, let's face it, it's an easy way to make money. But East Midlands, as already stated, has recently been made barrierless. It means you can only pay online or buy an automated phone line by midnight the following day. If you're dropping somebody off, say, early in the morning or late at night, it can be really easy to forget. And I'm sure we've all got examples. And, having the airport in my constituency, I do get a lot of casework on this matter that I then field to other MPs because they're generally not my constituents. But I think I was contacted by someone who's just returned home just after midnight, dropping off a loved one at East Midlands Airport, and they had just 24 hours to pay. Thankfully, they remembered, but they just felt it was so unfair that they'd had such a short space of time to pay. And whilst you can set up an account to take automatic payment, it simply won't be accessible to all, and setting up an auto payment for once or twice yearly event just isn't worth anybody's while. What other service operates a system where it's impossible to pay at the point of sale? It feels like the system is set up and hopes that you forget, with fines of £100 if it slips your mind, but of course there are no reminders. It's only reduced if you pay within 14 days, but coincidentally, 14 days seems to be the length of many family holidays. So there is that sort of bit of irony there. I have raised this directly with the airport and requested a pay terminal or a simple QR code is put into the terminal building. They've refused based on fraud issues. Yet we know that these kind of actives are completely common practice. And I used the QR code at my train station just yesterday, which happens to be operated by the very same parking company. So if they can do it at Leicester train station, they could do it at East Midlands Airport with no trouble. That's where regulation could bring in real merit, bringing clearer payment methods, reminders and limits on parking charges. They're not radical, they're just basic consumer protections. I also wrote to APCOA Parking to request the data on the number of parking charges notice issued prior to the introduction of the new system at East Midlands Airport and then after. I was refused that data. I don't think that's a good sign. Companies that are privately finding individuals should be subject to some data access rights relating to the schemes that they're operating. Ultimately, the current system of airport drop-off charges is just an unfair one. When we factor in inadequate transport infrastructure, the case for regulation becomes even stronger.